As much as I want to keep these morning messages short, they seem to be growing in length. And I have a feeling today's is going to be a little bit of a longer one. So please bear with me. I've been a professional psychic medium and quasi-public figure since 2017. To a certain degree, to whatever degree, my life is in the public eye. And I think one of the worst things that a spiritualist of a professional nature could ever do is portray the image that they're somehow holier than or better than, or they're inhuman or superhuman. I would never want to portray that. I have hard days. I have days that are better than others. I have emotional responses. I have mental stuff that I work through. I'm as human as the next person. A note of caution for people who would have spiritualists in their life. If they present that image that they're wiser than, or they know better than, or they're somehow ascended or evolved past that point, they're not. So here's me sharing a little bit of vulnerability with you. And I want to share with you an interesting process too. As a spiritualist and as a gay man, one would safely assume that my political spectrum would lean to one direction versus the other. I'm a proud Vermonter and have voted Democrat and Republican in my life. I absolutely have. I proudly vote for the Republican governor of Vermont. On the national stage, though, it's been very difficult for me to reconcile the fact that who I would perceive as decent people being able to align themselves with individuals that I cannot find a shred of decency in. Now, I've also learned and struggled with trying not to participate in messages or tactics that would divide other people against other people. I think that we all have to be mindful of that. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to maintain a balance of neutrality, trying to see the good in everybody, understanding that people, generally speaking, are doing the best they can with what they have. I've been struggling lately, though, again, with this idea that I know plenty of really decent people who might very well align themselves with people that are not so decent. And I've struggled with that. On the other side of that, well, I guess the best way to put it is I've met some really great Republicans. I've met some really awful Democrats. The life that I've lived has shown me that we cannot make an assumption that somebody's good or okay because they align themselves with a certain religion or political philosophy. Now, what I've discovered is this, is that there are essentially three types of people in the world. That there are the first group, people that will absolutely want to hurt other people. The worst group, the worst of humanity will always be with us so long as humanity exists. And I think that, as a culture, as a society, we should do our best to make sure that that group is as small as possible. And if you think of a bell curve, if that worst group is over here on the bell curve, then you have the top of the bell curve, which would be most people, the average. I believe the average person does the best they can with what they have. And they don't mean to hurt people. They don't mean to cause pain or imbalance in the lives of others. Yet, just like most humans, they'll make a decision or take an action that will cause pain and imbalance in the lives of others. Then on the other side of that bell curve, we have the best group of people, the people who are in this world trying to do the best they can with what they have to make this world a better place. Now, believe it or not, there are people of a Republican nature that are in group 3. There are people of a Democratic nature that are in group 1. And I was really trying to reconcile the message for today. Because here I am feeling this struggle that I'm having, that there are some just awful people in this world. There are some really wonderful people in this world. And part of my message today is speaking of that vulnerability of like, oh my gosh, should I say something? I might offend somebody. I might upset somebody by standing up for something that I believe in. Now, that's a me thing, right? Struggling for myself, because there's that fear aspect of like, oh my gosh, if I say the wrong thing, would people, think the wrong thing of me? I think we're human, and I think most of us have that. And I don't want to ever get on this place of like being on a pedestal or being on a soapbox of feeling like I'm better than other people or I know better than other people, because life has shown me I have met plenty of Trump supporters who are decent and good people who would help the old lady broken down on the side of the road. I've met plenty of Hillary Clinton supporters or Joe Biden supporters that were just extremely judgmental and not really people of compassion as much as they'd like to think that they were. And so I'm sitting in this message of like, okay, speak publicly about the frustration that you're feeling. And I am. Now, you being able to listen to this and be here with me, well, that's helping me express something and get something out of me. Yet, I had to pull a tarot card after this. And I had to wonder how, I really tried to reconcile why this tarot card would have to go with this message. So the message, of course, that we have for Friday, August 23rd, comes to us from the Page of Pentacles. Now, generally, the Page of Pentacles is the student, the youth, I'm interested in this and I'm going to learn about it. So how could the Page of Pentacles line up with the frustration that I'm feeling? That there are just some really kind of despicable people in this world. And group one, the group one people, boy oh boy, have a real hard time with that because they're intentionally causing pain and harm in this world. The student card, though, is this. I should be a student of humanity. And as a student of humanity, for as long as humanity's been around, for 250,000 years, according to science, there's always going to be the worst version. There's always going to be the best version. And, that bell curve is going to move from side to side. There's going to be a little bit more people who are pretty nasty. There's going to be a little bit more people sometimes that are pretty good. But I think that if you find yourself struggling, now, here's the kicker, because I aim to have compassion and love for everybody, even group one. Okay. If you're somebody that's struggling in this day and age because you're seeing somebody, now I'm talking to you if you're an independent, I'm talking to you if you're a Democrat, I'm talking to you if you're a Republican. A lot of Republicans, a lot of Democrats, well, they're driven by fear. They're receiving messages of fear. Whether that fear is warranted or not for me to say. But I want you to remember that your neighbor who might disagree with you, there's a very small chance that they're group one. Now they could be. They could absolutely be somebody who is seeking to intentionally cause pain and harm in the lives of others. Okay, isolate yourself from them. But most people are doing the best they can with what they have. They're not looking to hurt other people. And a lot of people are doing what they can to make this world a better place. That, I think, is a wise perspective to take, especially when we have these emotional reactions where we want to get angry at other people and go, how could you ever believe in that? How could you ever stand for that? Just remember that humanity, well, it's going to always be a mix of all three types of people. And no matter where somebody falls on that spectrum, you should lend them compassion. You should lend you compassion as you might deal with those that are difficult to sit with. Compassion and wisdom. They'll help us in this world.